everybody, it's Becca at So Darn Twisted, and I am back, kind of. I know I've been gone an awfully long time, and I will explain a little bit about that as we go along, but I haven't been able really to film anything since, I think it was early December was the last tutorial I made, so yeah, I know I've probably lost most of you to other places on the web, and I totally get that. It's my own fault, but hopefully some of you are still here and will enjoy doing a tutorial with me. I made this, I haven't really been making much other than mass makes recently, and one journal really, but even that's been kind of fits and starts because I've had absolutely no motivation, no interest, haven't cared, and so that's why there's been no tutorials. So I've made this thing the other night that's just got stack of pockets in it, sort of all the way across, a belly band in the back of there, and then a nice closure on it. So I haven't actually straightened this ribbon, it came straight off the card, and so it's really creased, but I will sort that out. But this was just to show you what we're going to be making today. So as always, I'm going to talk through the equipment that you're going to need first. So hopefully you guys can remember that I do like to try to keep things simple for most of the tutorials, because I do try to aim a lot of them at beginners. So all I've got here is some basic craft card. I've got something to do an outside frame, like on this one had this sort of gold card around the edge, so you don't have to use that, you can just do one layer and that's absolutely fine. Then I have some papers that I bought, not realizing that they were for sort of really small books, and I don't like plain reverse sides when I'm making books. I like to have things, and I don't want to have to spend time doing something with this to make it double-sided, so I keep it to one side. Things like these to use for things like this. So card, some papers, anything like that you want. Obviously you're going to want some glue. I have a corner cutter, and you might want a notch punch if you want to notch out your pockets. I didn't on that one, but that doesn't mean you can't. I have some ink for doing the edges, bone folder, some sort of decoration-y bits and pieces that I've got here. Obviously these are just ones that I had out already to do that one. You can use whatever ones you want. You can distress the edges of your card and paper if you want to, using a distressing tool, or anything like that. I have used this punch to make these here because it stops the ribbon from crimping up, but you can just use a normal hole punch. You don't have to have one of these. I just wanted it to sit flat on this particular one, so I did it that way. You'll also want either ruler, pencil, scissors, or a paper trimmer, and something to score with. This one has a scoring and cutting blade on it, so I just use this for both. That is pretty much it, other than something to actually create the tie with, some lace or ribbon or what have you. So let's get started. Now, the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to take our first piece of craft card, and this is just A4 UK US letter size effectively, and we're just going to fold it directly in half. Little tip for you, if you do have a scoring board, is you can use it to create a square, corner squared like a T-square will, and then that'll just give you a nice even line to fold that down. Okay, now your next one is going to be this part here. We are going to be cutting out these two sections here. Okay, now the width of that, how much you cut out, depends on how big you want this piece to be. This one was quite a chunky one, as you can see, so you can make it so it's a bit thinner. I probably will go a little bit smaller this time. The measurements for this are unimportant. You can make this as small or as large as you want. The only thing that matters is your initial measurement. Okay, so I know that I'm going to have that here. It doesn't matter if you want one pocket to be wider than the other pocket. You can offset it if you wanted to. You could have this so it was just a little flap. You know, that's entirely your choice. So all I'm going to do here is get it roughly in the middle, and I'm just going to make a little pencil mark each side. Okay, because then I know that when I bring that over here, I can line that up, and I'm going to score all the way down that line a couple of times there. Okay, and then I'm going to turn it around. What I should have done was mark that a little bit nearer to the top there, but never mind. Okay, I'm going to turn that around, and I'm going to do the same thing here. Line up my marker and score all the way down. Okay, so I'm hoping you can see the score lines there. So what we're going to do is we are going to cut this section and this section out. Okay, they're going to be gone. So let's get, you can either use your paper trimmer or your scissors, doesn't matter, because obviously you've got a line to follow if you want to do it now with your scissors. And I'm just going to take that to that point where the center crease meets with that crease. Okay, so we're just going to do the same this side. Fantastic. And then the bottom one I'm going to fold in, and then I'm going to do the same with this one. Now I was going to make this one slightly narrower, wasn't I, but I haven't, so you know, what can I say, it's been a while. So yeah, my brain's not entirely fully functional yet. Okay, so there we go, that's those in place. So then this one we're going to cut. So now that that's out of the way folded, you can make life easy for yourself by just going straight down that now with your trimmer. So it makes it nice and easy, and you've only got to use your scissors to go along that way if you're a bit of a wonky cutter like we all know I am. Okay, and then we're going to keep these two pieces to one side. Right, I'm going to fold that over there. If that's a little bit sticking past your crease point and it starts to pucker like that, just go in here. It won't always happen, it depends on which side of your score line you cut, or if you were able to get it directly down the middle. But you can just shave a little bit off like that, just to stop it from doing that bowing. Just taking off just a little bit. Okay, and then that will then fold over properly. Okay, so now that we have that, we're going to just give that a nice little push down in all of its relevant places. Alright, so that's the heavy work as far as the main part of it goes. Fabulous. So now we're going to cut out the pockets and the shape for the belly band. So for that I am going to use some of this. Now whatever your measurement here is, you want the same width. So what I would do here is just take this and cut it less than half, because you want there to be a gap. So you just want to make it so that you've got, and you don't have to make these all the same size either, you can make them different sizes. Oh, you can also choose to cut it correctly. So I'm going to have one there and one there. Okay, so there's going to be a gap above each of those. Then I'm going to take this piece that was cut off the other side, and I'm going to use that to make the inside pocket here. So that one is going to go in the inside of there. Okay, so we've got our outside and inside pockets done there for that flap. This one, as I say, you can leave this one as just a flap, you know, that tucks in. You can just decorate so it looks nice, or you can just make another pocket, which is what I'm going to do. So I know that I need that to be the same height as that, which is just under 15. I'm just measuring it because I can't be bothered to, well actually no, I'll be consistent here. I'm going to just do a pencil mark or a pinch crease. There we go, a little pinch crease, just to be consistent. There's no point me telling you that I'm not measuring it and then going ahead and measuring it for this part anyway. Okay, and then I'm going to want that to be shallower than the actual flap itself is. So again, I'm going to go ahead and just do a little pinch crease up there, okay, and then just cut that along that. Okay, fabulous. So that is now going to be a little inside tuck pocket for there. Oops, I think it's actually still a little bit too long here. I didn't take quite enough off the edge of that. There we go. Trial and error, trial and error. Okay, yeah, there we go. I just realised that was probably off the camera. I apologise. Okay, so that is now then the pockets for here and the pocket for here done. That side I'm just going to decorate on this one. I'm not going to put pockets that side of that flap on this occasion. So they are now done. Right side, left side. Then we're going to go in and do the centre pockets here. So again, you want it to be just slightly shy of where your crease is to allow these to close over the top. So we'll just, yep, that's our width, and then I'm going to want two pockets here. So I'm going to want one that's on the bottom, so let's say about there should be fine. So that will be pocket number one. And then the next one, or I might actually have that one at the top and have a slightly deeper one at the bottom maybe. Yeah, there's room. There's room. So we'll do that. This one will be slightly deeper. Okay. So again, I'm just going to give that a rough, about there kind of marking. The beauty of not needing precision all the time, right? I don't think I could function right now if I had to be precise. Okay, now for the belly band, you can either use your leftover scrap to put one in there, or you can use some of your decorative paper. This one is a bit thin, so what I'd be likely to do here is actually just completely cover with this paper, so it ties in with the cover and everything and the little panels on the inside, you know, but it just needs that little bit of extra support because this is very thin paper, to be quite honest with you. So what have we got there? We've got a piece there to use for the belly band already. So all I'm going to do is just mark this up. If I can find my pencil, there we go. I'm just going to mark that along those edges, there and there. And then I'll just give that a trim down. And then all I'll do is glue that directly onto that piece of card when it comes to the gluing phase, you know. So I'll just stick those two together. So that's the belly band done as well. Okay, we're making good progress, good progress. All right, so to cut the final piece for the main structure, which is going to be your clasp closure, you've got two choices. If you're having it as something that will be taken out of a journal independently, you may want to wrap around the back. If not, if it's just sticking into a journal, you only need to make it into tabs at the back. You don't need to waste by going around the back. It'll only add extra sort of chunk to it, you know, that it doesn't really need. So for that, I would just use something like this scrap piece that was just left over. I'm just going to make sure that it's straight because otherwise it will look a bit shonky. I don't think that is quite straight, is it? No. Okay, so I'm just going to level that off. There we go. It was close, but not quite close enough for me. So I'm going to fold that in half, okay? And then what we'll do is give that a cut down that line. Doesn't have to be, you know, exactly in half, as long as your front pieces are the same, kind of to keep it looking balanced. So what you're going to do now, just get rid of all of that stuff, fold those in, fold that over, and then we're just going to see kind of where to make the crease. So you want some gap between the two, kind of thing, you know. So probably it would have been enough to just do half of this, but that's okay, it doesn't matter massively. So I'm just gonna tweak that around there, and then I'm gonna cut it about 1 centimetre across from where my crease line is. Okay, so I need two the same. That's the one time when it does matter that they are the same. Well, matters to me anyway. So it's just a smidgen over 5 centimetres. Okay, and then I will give that a score at the same point, which, like I say, is about 1 centimetre across. And I nearly cut it. I nearly did. Okay, let's just score that on the line as well, just so I know they're both properly scored rather than just a pinch. Okay, there we go. Right, so that is our two outside flaps for the closure cut as well. Doing really well, aren't we? So the next step is going to be cutting out the things that are going on the things. Okay. Alright, so we've got our front cover here. I'm going to lay that out flat just to stop those other bits from interfering. So I'm going to take my backing piece, and say you can skip this step if you're not using a triple layer, you know, thing. If you're just doing something on your cover, well, if you're just doing something on the cover without the backing, then you'll want to cut this bit but not the next bit technically. Yeah, I know, I'm really not all there, am I? Okay, so again we're just going to do a rough pinch crease there, and I know that that is where I want that to be, because again it's sort of roughly the right size. Using a pinch crease is great, because then you can just kind of centre it however you've done it. You can just centre it, so it doesn't matter if it's, you know, 4.5 centimetres or 5 centimetres or, you know, whatever, because whatever it is, you just get it in the centre roughly like that. So that is our piece for there. And so now my final piece, which will be one of these pieces, will fit inside here like so. So again, same kind of deal, you know, about a centimetre, you know, kind of just over 1/4 of an inch kind of thing is fine for that way. And then for the other way, same thing. You can make that gap as big or as small as you want, and like I say, if you're not doing triple layer, you don't need to do this part anyway. So let's get that one cut, and then when we get to the boring part of the gluing and inking, etc., I will tell you guys what has been going on in the world of me recently. I think I've probably got a lot to catch up on with you guys, because I've been really out of the loop. You may or may not have noticed that I haven't really been active in groups or anything really, because I just haven't had the mental capacity to do it. So what we're going to do now, and look at that, fits beautifully just like that. So I'm just going to pinch that one and cut along there. But all the things that I had planned, you know, for the channel, for the group, all that kind of stuff, it's still gonna happen. It's just unfortunately been considerably delayed, and for that I am really sorry. I have missed you guys. I just have not been able to keep up with everything and everyone, and yeah, it's just been a bit of a time. So that one's gonna go on there, and then basically all we're doing now is just cutting pieces to go on these pieces. Okay, now you can put things on your closures as well, or you can leave them plain and just decorate them that way. Whichever you guys would prefer is absolutely fine. It's yours after all. You can do with it as you please. Alright, so that's everything cut out and the corners clipped. The only thing I haven't clipped the corners of yet is this. I'm just going to wait till it's glued down and I'll just snip those edges off then. So all I'm going to do now is go ahead and ink things before I put them, glue them into place on their relevant pieces of card. Sorry, I've got the wobbles, mental wobble going on here. So I've had to film this over a couple of days and I just had to take a moment then just to remember what the heck it was I was actually doing. So we're okay, we're back in the game, guys. And while I'm doing this, I'll fill you in, I suppose, on where I've been and why, because I know I have abandoned everybody. And I do sincerely apologise for that. Basically, as a lot of you know, I lost my mum a couple of days before Christmas 2 years ago, a couple of years back, and I've been struggling to deal with that, you know, understandable, I suppose. And the beginning of December, it kind of, you know, started to wobble a bit, and I ended up with the depression back quite savagely. And normally after Christmas, you know, I say normally, it's only like been 2, but yeah, normally I am able to kind of pull it together again, you know, the last couple of years, but this year, I don't know, just wasn't really happening. New Year came and I was actually starting to feel a bit more positive, and I thought, okay, you know what, I'm gonna start recording again and I'm gonna start doing this. And on the 6th of January I contracted a virus that I thought I was having a really savage autoimmune response to it. I'm not sure if it was the new version of COVID. It's entirely possible, according to some of my nurse friends, but who knows at the moment? Nobody. But I thought, okay, it's a virus and, you know, it'll go away, and I'd have the occasional day where I didn't feel too bad, but the rest of the time I had no energy at all. I couldn't think. Everything was just... Okay, so we've got all of the basic stuff glued down and ready to go now. Now what I'm going to do with the belly band part that's going to be going on the inside of this flap here, I'm going to use this embossing and border punch, like 2-in-1 thing, and I'm just gonna, you can do it with any border punch, or, you know, you can just not do it at all. It doesn't matter. It's just something I thought might look really nice again to use this. So I'm just gonna go ahead and pop this out, and away we go. So that's the belly band, and now I didn't bother inking the edges of that one because knowing I was going to be cutting into it, there didn't seem like a lot of point. So just do it afterwards and then done. Okay, let's get that stuff out of the way and in there. Fabulous. All right then, let's do some assembly. Right, so if we stick that at around the halfway mark and attempt to get it so that it's straight. There we go. So that's that one in. Obviously you could cut notches in your pockets if you wanted to. I'm not notching these ones either. I'm just going to leave them as they are. So, and as I've always said, don't overdo it with your glue. I use a fine nozzle on this so I can go over it a couple of times, make sure I've got good coverage without putting tons of glue on that then make it really messy, because it all starts to seep out and stuff and you don't want that. So let's just get my little, just to make sure there's nothing there. So I'll just use that to push down instead. There we go. Fabulous. So that's that one. Okay, that's those in. Now, if you remember, I've got this strip as well, which is going to just be going on the front of that flap there. So we're going to just glue that one down as is. You have to excuse me, my voice is keeps getting quite low and croaky. That's been a common thing in the last couple of months. I can't remember what it's like to not have a sore throat, to be honest. It's been going on for that long. And the worst part is you feel like something's constantly stuck in your throat, so you're just trying to swallow it constantly. And obviously you can't, it's not going anywhere. Excuse me. So you end up kind of stuck with it. It's a joy, it's such a joy. Okay, so this one is going to be going over here as the little tuck spot pocket. See, it comes together so quickly once you actually start kind of, you know, start the assembly of it. It just flies. It's just getting the components cut out and, you know, clipped and what have you that can be time consuming, but the actual construction of it, because you've done all that prep work, you know, it suddenly goes from a pile of pieces to a finished object, you know, in no time at all, which I love. I love projects like that, you know, where you just see it come together really, really quickly and you go, oh, fabulous. So this one is the pockets for on here. Now I'm going to do the, I'm going to glue these in a way that you, ordinarily, something like this, you'd load your pocket from the top, right? But I thought on this occasion, I'd actually prefer it if they loaded from in here. So when you open it up, you know, your things will be over there kind of thing. And they can overlap this, being the wider aperture, rather than trying to fit something really slim in the top of there. So yeah, that was my thought process, as much as, or such as it is. I don't have much of a thought process at the moment because, as I think I said earlier on, I've done very, very little to do with the junk journals in quite some time. I did a little period of just mass making, just to try to keep my head in the game, you know, and keep myself occupied, etc, etc, but it just didn't work because I didn't care. So, you know, when that happens, there's very little that you can actually do to help that, you know, it just is what it is. So okay, now this piece is going to go front and center, so let's get a decent bit of glue on here. Again, not flooding it, but just getting some on. But I would like to just say that, you know, everybody's got their own issues and struggles, and, you know, I'm always happy to talk to anybody who's struggling, you know, because I know what it's like to not really have anybody to talk to about stuff, because I have been there in the past. Thankfully, I'm not in that position now. But a lot of that is thanks to the people that I've met through this, you know. So you guys know I'm the kind of person I give back happily. So if you are out there and you are struggling and you just want somebody to vent to, you don't want advice necessarily. That's the worst thing, is people always try to give you advice. You know, have you tried this? Have you tried yoga? I swear to God, if one more person asks me if I've tried yoga, they will probably end up with a yoga mat inserted somewhere very uncomfortable. Because I'm just, yeah, just go away, basically. Stop that. Stop asking people with depression or you know, chronic illness, if they have tried yoga and exercise. Get some fresh air, you'll feel fine. No, no, we won't. Oh, actually, I've just realised that I shouldn't have, well, it doesn't really matter because I can just do it like this, because obviously I want to make sure that the two holes or slots are in the same place on both of these. So yeah, just going to just glue them both together, and kind of, obviously you can always make a dot on the back if you're just using a circle punch, or you know, whatever. And of course my hands don't really want to work at the moment. They're having a day off along with everything else. Yep, that lines up beautifully. But yeah, just, you know, not everybody wants advice. Some people, that we just want to be able to say how we feel without somebody thinking that they can fix it when they can't. And a lot of the time, don't get me wrong, it's really nice that people want to help. Of course it is, but a lot of people don't really understand that there are certain things that actually just make us feel worse. You know, and some of that is things like, you know, stating the obvious. Yes, of course, we've thought about going out in the fresh air, but, you know, sometimes when you're in the pit of depression, brushing your teeth seems like a lot of effort. So, you know, changing your clothes feels like, you know, a huge task. So asking us to go out and get some fresh air and exercise isn't likely to endear you to us whatsoever. Anyway, there we go. So that is now all of your base done, in place. Now it's just a case of doing your tie and some decoration. And I'm going to give you a little tip about doing your tie closure in just a second. Alright, so I've chosen some matte fabric ribbon that I was sent with some Happy Mail. It's absolutely gorgeous stuff. But as you might have clocked here, you might not. I wanted to do this because, you know, a lot of the closures you have to unfeed a piece of ribbon or lace in order to open them, and I'm tired of doing that. It's driving me crazy. So I thought I'm going to use a doubled up piece, because apart from anything, it also gives your tie just a little bit more fancy if you've got two loops going on your bow. You know, it just kind of adds a little bit more opulence to it as well. You know, looks a little bit less plain. So you can, though, if you want to, there's a couple of ways of doing this. You can absolutely feed your thing through, and you can just seal it there like that if you wanted to, you know. So it's still only one piece, which with something this thick was probably the best option. But if you're using something thinner like the ribbon I did on the other one, then just pull it through to a length you know you're going to be able to tie a bow. And just, you've got two options. You can either just put a dab of glue each side and it will hold itself together. You can staple it through so it goes through your card as well, and then put an embellishment over the top to hide the staple. you know, and on the bottom, obviously. So there's a couple of options there, but like I say, because this is quite wide, I'm going to do it this way round, where I'm just going to have enough of a crossover that I don't have to keep pulling it through one or the other. So what I need now is my lighter here. Couldn't remember which drawer I'd put that in, and we'll just make sure that that's nicely sealed off. Always do that from a bit of a distance so that it doesn't go brown. You don't end up singeing your ribbon or misshaping it. So it doesn't need to be, you know, sort of do it at a bit of a distance and do it quickly is the best way to do that. So I'll just pull that back to where I want that to be, which is just here. So you don't want to use, this glue is fantastic because it dries very quickly for something like this. So you don't have to wait an age for it to dry, but whatever glue you're using, just don't use too much because it will inevitably start seeping out everywhere and it will just become a hot mess. So I'm just gonna get one of my little clips here and just pinch that in place while that dries for a second. I mean, it's basically there anyway, but it just means I don't have to sit there with it for ages. Then we will cut that to a suitable length to tie a nice bow. It's possibly a bit too long, but it's better to have it too long than not long enough. So there we go. And then I know that this one is going to need to be like so, with a little bit to fold up, so about there. Oh, that one's got to be straight though, Becca. Don't do that one on the wonk as well. Okay, so there we go. 1 and 2. There we go, that's got those in place. Let's just get that so that it sits nicely. There we go. And then I'll just leave those a second now and let those completely dry and dig out some things that I want to put on the cover. Okay, so now we're at the next stage, which is the decorating, and I'm going to tell you now, and for various reasons it kind of had to sit on the back burner, but I can now tell you that I have been to the hospital today, and they have actually told me that I don't have thyroid cancer. So they said it was absolutely, you know, I was showing symptoms and the doctor was very right to send me there, but that upon examination I just have varying infections and things like that. So as you can imagine, very relieved. I'm a bit all over the place at the moment, so I'm thinking, right, I'll distract myself by finishing this and then I can edit it and get it up for you guys, and then that will distract me from not figuring out whether I'm just relieved, just happy. I don't know, I'm exhausted. But anyway, I know that many of you would really like to know, so there we go. So what I decided was, with this, I'm gonna just pop some of this along the edge of the card, like the closure flap there, and along, and just sort of tuck a little bit behind, because it just kind of carries on nicely. And if you do have any tiny little glue spots, like I've got a couple here, it will just help to cover those up without adding too much bulk. I'm also going to just trim down this ribbon slightly because it's just a little bit too long on that one edge for me. You know, obviously that's personal taste. So that's going to go there once it's all nicely done up. So we're going to grab some of this, get it the right way around, because that really helps too. Okay, so I'm just going to need 2 at that length. so that makes it nice and easy. And over the course of the weekend, I actually had a delivery of some embellishments that I'd ordered, which is good because I thought it might be nice to use a couple of those on this actually. So yeah, let's just get a bit of glue down here just to get these bits of lace stuck on. This is obviously just, you know, real finishing touch kind of stuff, and is completely personal however you decide you want yours to look. This is just an idea of how I'm doing it, because you guys, I did put out a question in, I think it was in the group, it might have been on a tutorial, it might have been in a group, it's been a while, I can't really remember, but I did ask whether people wanted to see more like final decorating stuff rather than just the technical process, which is obviously what I've usually focused on. You know, getting things looking right for you guys, and then you choosing to decorate them however you want. But some people have said that it might be nice just to have an idea of what to do in case, you know, you're not very good at figuring that kind of part of it out, which is completely understandable. Sometimes I struggle to figure out what I'm going to put on stuff, so, you know, if you're a beginner, because I now don't class myself so much as a beginner, because I've now been doing this for about 14 months, so maybe 15, no, about 14 and a half. Who's going to count 2 weeks, but there you go. So I am no longer in the beginner camp, I am now in the intermediate camp. Getting them open quietly is the tricky part. So I kind of thought I might, like, if I do the bow up again, it'll help me just see about placements and the like, you know, where do I want things to sit, because it's when it's closed that, you know, that's when it needs to look how you want it. When it's open, all bets are off. I don't know what I've done. What have I done there? I mean, seriously, what the hell was that? Should we try that again, guys? I think we should try that again, because quite clearly I am absolutely inept. So let's yeah, let's have another go. Honestly, I'm fingers and thumbs, and I'm completely up in the air, and I don't know what I'm even doing today, or saying, or thinking, or anything. So, you know, good start. Good start, good times. There we go. Right, it's kind of, it's not as nice as it was at the beginning, is it? I don't know what I did differently, but you know what, it's going to just stay like that for a minute. So I wasn't sure whether to have that kind of to sit where the bow kind of, when it's done properly, when the bow would meet kind of here, or whether to have it a bit higher up. I think it needs something up the top here, so I'd be more inclined to do something like that higher up. But what I do is I tend to dry lay things. So you have to excuse me, I'm a little bit more hoarse than usual. I've had a camera down my throat today, and it kind of, it makes you a bit more scratchy than usual. I'm not entirely sure that they work on this one, so no, we'll scrap that idea. We won't use those. That's fine, that's fine. Okay, so yeah, I think I'm just going to stick with having one like that in the middle, because I think once the bow's done up properly and you've got your nice bits of lace and you've got all your layers and everything, I think something simple is often the better option. And then I might just have a piece of lace folded across the top or something like that. I will see in a minute. But as I say, you know, this kind of thing, it's going to depend on what you've got in your own stash. You know, you may want to go really over the top with it. You may want to keep it ridiculously simple. You know, all that kind of stuff is such a personal thing, which is the reason why I haven't traditionally gone down the route of saying, okay, get these things and decorate it this way. It's been very rare. So if we have a little look here in the in one of the lace stashes, that's quite a nice kind of golden, oh, see, now that's it, that's exactly it, yeah, that's the one. Okay, that's the one. I love it when that happens. First thing out the box and you just go, yes, that's exactly right. I need to roll that around a spool. I ran out of spools, so I need to cut some more on my Cricut. Well, how is that for kind of wonderful? So let's get a light bit of glue along the top of there, because obviously we don't want to go nuts and end up with it all seeping out everywhere. So just rub that around a little bit just to distribute it. I tend to do that, you know, to kind of get a line in place first, and then you can kind of glue the other pieces down once you've got that one bit in place, and it's easier to maneuver because you don't have loads of glue. It's not stuck to the whole thing, it's just stuck along this one line at the moment, so it does make tidying it up considerably easier, I think. Unless you like to just kind of slap it on devil may care, that's where it landed, that's where it goes. I can absolutely understand how some people could be like that. Unfortunately, I'm not one of them. I'm far too pernickety, to be fair. I really don't need to be quite so fastidious and ridiculous most of the time. Okay, so I'm going to just trim that little bit off. That will be coming soon to a cluster near you. So now that I've got that, you can either leave it, you know, because it's kind of nice that it sort of sits proud, but personally I would just tack that down a little bit now. But I've got it all lined up. Again, not a huge amount, just enough to keep it flat. There you go. That's it. I am really happy with that. I think it's simple, it's kind of classy, it's effective, you know. And then obviously all you've got to do now is go about filling it. You can, of course, you know, add more lace to the inside. You could put lace across your belly band, you know, you could add lace to some of your bits and pieces there. Sky's the limit where that kind of thing's concerned. But what I will say is with something like this, if you don't have a gutter, which is where you score two lines, you know, quite close together, that allows you to stuff without it gaping, but because this one is a close contact fold, do be aware that obviously if you put a lot of decoration on it, you won't be able to put much ephemera in there because you won't get it to close properly. So for these kind of things, I think it's better to keep your majority of your bulkier decoration on the outside and let the inside just be a little treasure trove, you know, of bits and pieces, little bits of ephemera that you want to put in there. So, but that's just me, my opinion. Doesn't really count for a lot. Okay, still can't tie a bow today apparently, but you know, whatever. You guys get the idea, right? You're going to forgive me because it's my first tutorial back in like 2 months anyway, so you have to forgive me. So there we go. There you have it, guys. I really hope that that's been an enjoyable tutorial for you. And I'm sorry it's not a more in-depth one for my first one back, but I wanted it to be something that wasn't too simplistic, you know. Come back with something at least a bit good, hopefully. If you found it useful, as always, I'd love it if you left me a comment. I'd like to try and revive the channel a little bit now that I'm back. So I'm going to be calling on you guys that are still around, if there's anyone still around, you know, to just come and show me some support, help me get back on the proverbial feet. So have a good one, guys. I can't wait to see all your creations. Do feel free to post them in the groups. Obviously, I'd love to see them as always. And in the meantime, have a great week. I'll see you all soon.